Thank you for tuning in to Andronicus Radio, gathering as one in our sovereign truth from a galactic perspective, exploring our world with new ideas, knowledge, and a promise of a better future. Galactic discussions for galactic-minded people. Andronicus.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Andronicus Radio. We have a guest today, Marcel Seifert, and I just want to give you a little. Did I say your name wrong, Marcel?
It's Seifert.
Seifert. Okay. All right. Well, let me give you a little background about Marcel. And so he's born in 1968 in Mannheim, Germany, and I don't know. I may mispronounce some of the words here, but I'll get corrected. That's okay. Went to school, learned about air conditioning or engineer for air conditioning heating, and was a soccer player between 1975 and 1980, and handball team captain, and you know, athletic. It looks like a lot of accolades here in athleticism. 1986 to 1990 was baseball German record champion club in Mannheim Tornadoes, and was a coach for softball, slow pitch in Mannheim Tornadoes as well, and also is creative. Does some electronic songs on SoundCloud, which is Marcel Seifert 4, and has done quite a bit of. Started reading about information from Erich von Däniken in the early 80s, which I did too, which I thought was interesting. We had that in common. And so, and then he's a hardcore hobby of historian, rewriting history, ufologist, in disclosure, and many other topics. Started going on to Facebook, and then was a founder of the UFO UNI, and the Real History of Humanity, the global search for the underwater alien bases in Earth. Indigo Kinder, a friend gave up his group, the Science, UFO, spiritual, and I can't say that word. Also running, let's see, Mind Masters and Star Whisperers from Australia, admin of the Apocalypse Zero in US. Participated in a dozen videos, conferences, researches, in all kinds of subjects, and nominated for a prize together with Donald Trump, Alex Jones, and John Humble, and many others in 2017. But anyhow, Marcel, nice to see you today, and you know, we've interacted a little bit throughout the past couple of years. And I've looked at many of your posts and information that you provided. So let's start with this. What happened when you got into the Erich von Däniken's work?
Yeah, I came across his work. He had also a series of TV shows running. Mm-hmm. Yeah, back in the 80s. And I remember when I was a teenager, I recorded every episode on an old Betamax video recorder. And I was watching these videos over and over and over again. Because back then there was nobody other than him in this subject. And he probably was the first one who brought this to the public. And he's now best-selling author with, I guess, 50 or 60 million sold copies. And right. His were translated in I don't know how many languages. And he was one of the first ones who came up with this ancient astronaut theory, so to say.
Right.
Yeah, that we were probably visited by beings from out of this planet in the past. Yeah, and he wrote his first book in 1968, the year when I was born. And I mean, and that's now over 50 years ago. And look at where we are now. It's making more and more and more and more sense what he wrote back then. Yeah. Of course, he was ridiculed in his early days of writing. Yeah. But if we are looking at what's going on now, it wasn't that far-fetched what he wrote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Definitely.
we are right in the middle of it, I guess.
Yeah. And what it start, you know, when I went to theology school, I was learning about the Bible, and I remember looking at a lot of these different scriptures and incidences, especially like the prophets, and you know, you talk about Ezekiel with the whale within a whale, and all of this stuff. And when I got a hold of that book, it changed. I said, all right, now it's starting to make sense to me what we're looking at. And I had people, you know, you talk about the extraterrestrials that have visited our planet over the years, and under the guise of some, you know, a divine visitation. And, you know, just when you change the name and say that they were aliens, all of a sudden everyone's up in arms and they're saying, oh my God, that's horrible, you're crazy, you're this and that. But meanwhile, they're talking about, oh, someone divine showed up and it was mystical and it was, you know, that's different. But you change the way that you describe it and it becomes a major issue.
You've just got to change the name from angels into aliens.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I mean, even still to this day, I've had people, you know, get really upset about that because they feel like you're insulting their belief system, and it's not. It's just redefining and putting it in the definition in the category that they do fit in to the category of being angels or aliens because of the different processes of how they came here that were not humanly possible. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah, for sure. What Eric von Däniken wrote or said made much more sense to me than what I was reading in religious books, and still does. Yeah. So
I'm gonna do a share screen, and we're gonna go into.
So I just said you just have to change a few words. Yeah. And then it makes sense. The Bible was written not only 2,000 years ago, but maybe 2,500, 3,000 years ago. Yeah, it's a summary of several books that are way older, just like the Gilgamesh epos, for example.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
another whole topic, isn't it? Because that goes.
So
Yeah.
they put the stuff together from older writings and made a Bible out of it. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of the stories do come originally from there, and they just mystified it quite a bit. And then, you know, because those stories existed before, even like the Vedic text, which, you know, has been around prior to all of this, but then they kind of translated in a way to become much more mystical and having, you know, specific purpose, and might we even say agenda, because of the mankind actually inserting their ideas into it. But that's a whole other subject. I don't want to get into all the controversy regarding it because, you know, I'm not negating people's belief systems, but there's parts of it that we should actually look at. So here's the information of Eric von Däniken. He talks about the ancient astronauts, just like you said, Marcel. And you know, you can see the pictures here. That's pretty interesting. It's really evident, isn't it, that that's what we're looking at. And a lot of people have seen, you know, these TV shows, Ancient Aliens, and they go over a lot of these topics. That's the book that, you know, I felt like was the inspiration. I think it looked more like this when I got it. And so anyhow, let's see. That also, he talks about the Book of Enoch. Is there anything that you want to say about the Book of Enoch?
I guess that's what that was written by Zechariah Sitchin, or
the Book of Enoch was one of the Bible. It was one of the biblical books that was omitted. They didn't put it in there.
Okay, yeah, it's a part of the book that the Bible that was taken out.
Right.
And Zechariah Sitchin, I guess, also wrote a book about his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, that's a more thorough description of what happened with the angels. And for whatever reason, they didn't want anyone to know what happened with the angels, and they said, "Oh, don't pay attention to that book over there." So the books that you should pay attention to are the ones that they omitted because it didn't fit into their agenda. And it's definitely worth looking at. I thought it was quite probably one of the more interesting books that I've seen in the biblical texts.
It still doesn't fit into the agenda.
No, it doesn't. Okay, we got to jump over to this. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got this is Hans Wolf Glaser. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Glaser is his name in German.
All right. So he was a printer, block cutter, woodcut, and published in Nuremberg in the Holy Roman Empire, known for printing broadsheets, some featuring woodcut illustrations. Glaser produced prints from 1540 to 1572, and then he died in 1573. And is also referred to himself as a woodcutter, letter painter, letter printer, and also listed as such as that in office books in the city of Nuremberg. And called himself, how do you say the word? Schmeitzhuten. I don't know if you can read that. In which Glaser and his workshop was in the immediate vicinity of the parish church of Saint Lorenz. But anyhow, he created this print right here, this block print. And did you want to read about that?
If you want to, you can read the text.
Okay. So let me get that. Let me pull that up. I think this was, hold on. Yes, Hans Glaser. I got the wrong one in front of me.
The 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg was a mass sighting of celestial phenomena or identified flying objects, UFO, above Nuremberg, Germany. The phenomenon has been interpreted by some modern UFO enthusiasts as an aerial battle of extraterrestrial origin. This view is mostly dismissed by skeptics, some referencing Carl Jung's mid-20th century writings about the subject, while others find the phenomenon is likely to be a sundog. A broadsheet news article printed in 1561 describes a mass sighting of UFOs. The broadsheet, illustrated with a woodcut engraving and text by Hans Glaser, measures 26.2 centimeters, that's 10.3 inches, by 38 centimeters, 15 inches. The document is archived in the prints and drawings collection at the Central Bibliothek Zurich in Switzerland. According to the broadsheet, around dawn on April 14, 1561, residents of Nuremberg saw what they described as an aerial battle, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and then a large crash outside of the city. The broadsheet claims that witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead. The broadsheet describes objects of various shapes, including crosses, globes, 2 lunar crescents, a black spear, and tubular objects from which several smaller round objects emerged and darted around the sky at dawn.
That's an amazing story, especially this black spear. It doesn't make any sense why something like that would show up. And no scientists were able to really identify it other than they just dismissed it as a sundog. Right?
So, probably this black spear was something like a portal that they all came out or disappeared into. When all this scenario ended, and I want to refer to something that Peter said in one of his shows. He was talking about a program of the Breakaway civilization on Mars when they traveled back in time to the year on Earth that was between 1515 and 1555. That's what Peter said in one of his interviews, and then all my bells started ringing because I thought, hey, when he's only wrong for 6 years, because he was speaking about a period between 1515 and 1555. If this project of the Breakaway civilization was lasting longer, that's probably not a sundog or an extraterrestrial UFO battle what we see here, but this could be maybe a battle of the Breakaway civilization who traveled back in time to Earth from Mars. That's just an idea that I have. I'm sorry.
I think it's an excellent idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense to me that, things are just not going to appear in the sky like that. And other activity, what happens is when there is time travel, there are anomalies. And just to remove the element of fear, they come up with some story, to dismiss it.
Probably one fraction of this Breakaway civilization wasn't pleased with what another fraction was doing, and they wanted to avoid probably that they are creating another timeline or something like that, and they battled them to avoid this stuff. I don't know. And we are going ahead now with deciding, because 5 years later we had something similar in the city of Bales, Switzerland. A 16th century woodcutting depicts a scene in which dark spheres were witnessed hovering over the town of Basel or Bales, Switzerland in 1566. On August 7, 1566 at dawn, many citizens of Bales, Switzerland, frightened, saw during several hours the black spheres involved in a formidable aerial battle invading the sky of their city. At the time when the sun rose, one saw many black balls which moved at high speed in the air towards the sun, then made half turns, banging as if they were fighting a battle out of combat. A great number of them became red and igneous. Thereafter they were consumed and died out.
All right, so that's this picture right here. That's the second print, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to just go back to this one, and I want everyone to take a look. And when I was talking to Anthony Zender in one of the last shows, we were talking about how Peter saw that I was traveling. No, I had this incident where they had used my soul essence, and that I was Jason Hudson, who was part of the Call of Duty Cold War, but actually military CIA. And I showed up also like a little girl, and I'm going to go out of the shared screen. And because I was bouncing a ball. And this is a game that I used to play as a child. It's called Jacks. And in Jacks is a little red ball. And I used to bounce this ball. But in the game of Jacks are these shapes right here. So you have the balls and this. Can you see it? So it's actually the same shape. It's the same shape as those. So you can't see it at all. I don't know why you can't see that.
I don't know either.
Okay, so I can actually look it up and then put it. Can you see that?
No.
Okay, maybe it's with your phone. All right, try not. I'll try to bring up in another way.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you can't see it that way. Okay. I'm gonna bring up.
Oh yeah, now I can see something.
This is it right here. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
There's the red ball.
Okay. Now it's gone again. Oh yeah, okay.
You see that? Is it? That's it, right there.
That's the game you were playing when you were a child?
Yeah, when he said that he saw me playing. Let's see, this picture. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks similar.
That's it right there, the balls and those shapes.
Yeah.
And, we used to play it all the time. And so when he said you were bouncing a red ball, I knew exactly what kind of ball it was. But the game is called Jacks. So I don't know how that came up and why they even invented that game, because it is kind of weird that it has all these shapes and everything. But anyhow, in this case, you don't see those shapes, but you see these balls. And it would like to go deeper into what this phenomenon was that happened, because I don't think there are other historical accounts where this happened, unless you're aware of that.
I only know of these two.
And also, which made me think too, if there was something involved with the Pleiadians, because Switzerland has a lot of Pleiadians. I know the Billy Myers story happened there.
Yeah, okay, they have a new money now. But when you have, I'm going to send you the link to one of my colleagues made a video how the money looked that they had before. It was in 2000 until 2010 or 12. You can see reptilians on their money. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm going to send you the link to the video that one of my colleagues made from it. And
maybe we can, bring that into the next show.
Yeah, or in the next show, yeah, we can talk about.
This is where you grew up. This is where you grew up, right, Mannheim?
Yes.
The area.
Yeah.
It looks like a beautiful area. Beautiful.
Yeah, the Mannheim is now we constructed the whole center of the city in squares. Yeah.
In squares.
Yeah, it's just like streets and avenues in New York, because they copied. And Manhattan and Mannheim sounds similar, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the system, they just copied our system. The center of the city of Mannheim is got 144 squares. Yeah. And
that's interesting. That's an interesting number.
Oh, I've got lots of stuff from Mannheim. Yeah, and there are no streets and no number. We have only letters. Yeah, On the left side, when you look from the castle to the other side to the bridge, it's exactly 1 kilometer. Yeah. And when you look from the castle to the other side, on the left side of the main road, there's the first square is A1, A2, A3, and then the next one will be B1, B2, B3, B4, and then C, D, E, F, G. It goes up to the left side goes up to K is the last, and then the other side starts with U, and then going back. It's a bit difficult to explain if you've got no picture of it, but you can search for a picture, just a square city of Mannheim or Quadrate Stadt Mannheim, and then you can see the
square city of Mannheim.
Probably this works.
Yeah, I don't know if they have an aerial view here, but you can see it looks like a lovely city.
Normally there must be one from above. I'm not quite sure if this is the right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So anyhow, but yeah, I lived in a town that had we called it the alphabet section, and it had all it was separated, but all the streets were alphabet related, and they went in a sequence, obviously.
We invented the bicycle. We invented the first car. Everyone on the world knows Mercedes-Benz, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Carl Benz created his first car in Mannheim, and we still have the memorial route, yeah, from Mannheim to Ladenburg.
Okay. So, let's see. We're going to go on to the next subject, and this is Conrad Haas. Haas.
Yeah.
Was an Austrian or a Transylvanian Saxon military engineer from the Kingdom of Hungary, Transylvania. He was a pioneer of rocket propulsion. His designs include a 3-stage rocket and manned rocket. Haas was perhaps born in Dornbach, now part of Hernés, Vienna. He held the post of Zweigwart, an arsenal master of the Imperial Habsburg army under Ferdinand I in 1551. There's the Bathory family, Stephen Bathory, the Grand Prince of Transylvania. We know about Elizabeth Bathory. And he invited Haas to Hermannstadt, Eastern Hungarian Kingdom, now Sibiu, Romania, where he acted as weapons engineer and also started to teach Klausenberg now. And so he wrote German language treatises on rocket technology involving the combination of fireworks and weapons technologies. The manuscripts were discovered in 1961 in the Sibiu Public Records. And let's see, his works also dealt with the theory of motion of multi-stage rockets, different fuel mixtures using liquid fuel, and introduced delta-shaped fins and bell-shaped nozzles. And so we know about the De Glocken. It was bell-shaped, and then the delta shape that we see with the military now. And the last paragraph of this chapter in military use of rockets. And he wrote, "But my advice is for more peace and no war, leaving the rifles calmly in storage so that the bullet is not fired, the gunpowder is not burned or wet. So the prince keeps his money, the arsenal master his life, and that's the advice that Conrad Haas gives." So here is the image of what he created. And it looks like a weapon, doesn't it?
Yeah, rocket.
Well, rocket actually is used in space travel too, doesn't it? That almost looks like...
Yeah. The funny thing is that he created a 3-stage rocket. the stuff that we are still using today. Excuse me. that NASA uses today.
Yeah, the 1500s.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there were the paperclip scientists that were involved in that in it was the 1960s and involved in space travel. So, I think was this his burial?
No, that's a kind of memorial. Or
Memorial? Okay.
Yeah, they placed it in the country where he was born. It's Bucharest, Romania. And this was just placed 2019. Yeah. 2 years ago.
So it looked like it took a long time for everyone to catch up what some of them had already known, and then to actually step out and start creating some of this technology here. Do you want to talk about this picture?
Oh, okay. I can't say much about this picture. I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to figure out what he has there. It looks like ropes and
looks like that there are pyramids on the ground, maybe.
Right here,
Or pyramid-like
like
structure.
a fort or something, or yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. See if we can get the picture bigger. This right here looks interesting. I don't know what that is. Some kind of bag. They're tied up in some way, and I can't quite read what's said there. But yeah, I guess the point is that this is some of the ancient, well, not ancient, but things that we've already discovered, but they were experimenting with. No one didn't you think anyone thought they were crazy at the time, or just the ingenuity was appreciated? I think we got really skeptical around,
I don't know if
1800s.
I don't know if this is also a part of this time travel project from the Breakaway civilization. Yeah.
Yeah, that they just kind of inserted. They had advanced knowledge, and it came in the 1500s. Yeah.
Yeah. And they found the drawings of him in the last century, in 1960, 1970, or something like that, in a museum. Yeah. Before this time, this case wasn't known at all.
Yep, that's
and we all know that gunpowder was invented by the Chinese, probably 1000 between the year 1044 and somewhere in the 1300s. Yeah, it's not exactly known. So fireworks were also invented back then, yeah, by the Chinese.
Yeah, so, well, the Chinese developed the fireworks. I don't even know how long ago. I mean, talk about advancement. And Peter talks
between the middle of the between 1044 and the 1300s. Yeah.
And Peter talks about the jump room and the jump seat technology that they had. And that's quite old as well, and that was out of China.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, or at least Asia somewhere. You can't say exactly where it is. But I guess it still exists, and they used it in some movies. So, or at least kind of replicated what it looked like. This is another one that we're talking about, is Charles. His last name Dellschau?
Dellschau, yeah.
Okay. The visionary artist found his works were found in a dumpster. And so you look at his beautiful artwork. In 1969, second-hand furniture dealer Fred Washington bought 12 notebooks a trash collector had found in Houston, Texas, dumpster following a house clearance. That same year, Mary Jane Victor was picking through stuff at Washington's OK Trading Post warehouse when she happened upon the books. Inside, she discovered the work of Charles Dellschau, born in Berlin in 1830 and died in Texas in 1923. Sensing she was on to something special, Victor contracted the art director of Rice University, Dominique de Menel, who bought Dellschau's work for $1,500 and exhibited it. Dellschau, a long-dead Prussian immigrant, had been discovered. And so, look at this. This is this is like aircraft of some sort, right? Kind of like, I mean, well, this is like a Zeppelin or something, a blimp.
Blimp, we call it Zeppelin.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Border drug smugglers use planes. What year was that, right? Is this crazy?
Yeah, I guess the Montgolfier brothers from France were the first one who were flying around with a balloon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're talking about gambling here, a gambling joint in American continent closed by the Governor Cantu. I mean, it's pretty interesting. 1919, right? Border drug smugglers use planes. That's just hilarious.
They always find a way.
Yeah. Well, they'll create things, won't they? 1919, what were they using? Heroin or I don't know.
1919, I guess the cocaine was very common in the United States.
Yeah.
They also put this in the Coca-Cola in the first year, as far as I remember.
Yeah, absinthe was another. I knew that they were into absinthe.
Okay.
Maybe even earlier than that.
Yeah, that was forbidden because all the people got blind from absinthe.
Yeah.
But
like
you can get it
turpentine.
You can get it now again in Germany since 2000, and I don't know, but a softer version of the stuff. There's a shop in a city close by my city that only sells absinthe.
Yeah, I think it's still available in some places, but yeah, it's harsh liquor. They would do anything they could to get drunk, and you can't, if people want to do something, you can't stop them if they're really want it that bad. Not that I'm condoning it, I'm just stating a fact of our history. He had arrived in the United States 25 years old from Hamburg in 1853, and documents show he lived in both California and Texas with his family working as a butcher. Peter talks about a butcher every now and then. I don't know if this is the same one.
Hamburger comes from.
What was that?
That's where the hamburger comes from, probably.
Yeah. After his retirement in 1899, he took to filling his days by filling notebooks with visual journals of his youth. He called the first 3 books Recollections and Recounts, a secret society of flight enthusiasts which met in California in the mid-19th century called the Sonora Aero Club. And people wonder, there's a lot been going on in California for many years. The Wright brothers wouldn't even make their famous first flight until 1903, but Dellschau draws the dapperly dressed men piloting bright-colored airships and helicopters with revolving generators and retractable landing gear. No records have ever been found of the Sonora Aero Club, but Dellschau's artwork hide a secret coded story. And you see that he has like these newspapers. Probably if you kind of enlarged it and read what he was trying to point out, I bet it'd be quite interesting. Look at these men all dressed up. They look like they're in some kind of military outfit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have these wheels,
In
multiple wheels.
In his lecture, Walter Bosley is talking about an organization by the name of NIMSA. Yeah. And that this organization originates in Germany. And probably they were involved in this stuff or creating such objects. And these objects were also reported flying around in the United States, yeah, at the end of the 1800s. Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
And we also had the Aurora case in 1897. Yeah. A UFO crashed into a windmill. Yeah.
What is it called? The Aurora case? And where did that happen?
1897. You can Google this and bring this up if you wanna. Yeah. And it was 50 years before Roswell. So Roswell wasn't the first case. Okay, we had the Los Angeles case in the Second World War. Yeah, where they were shooting at a UFO at the coast. And okay, that's it. That's it. Maybe you can read a bit of this case. That's 1897 Aurora, USA.
Reportedly, according to locals, a UFO crashed in a farm near Aurora, Texas. The incident, similar to the more famous Roswell incident, just like you said, claimed to have resulted in a fatality of the pilot. The pilot was not of this world. Should I repeat? Not of this world. And was said to be an alien. Oh, it came right out. The pilot was buried at the Aurora Cemetery. A stone was placed as a marker for the grave, but has since been removed. Oh,
yes.
No evidence. No evidence left. Interesting that it hit a windmill. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you know Bill Burns from the UFO Hunters magazine.
Yeah.
They made a whole documentary about this case.
Okay. I mean, that's worth adding. People want to look into this. Now that I'm looking at it, I do recall this story. And I don't know if I read it or I watched a video on it, and how that they, the theory was that someone went and took the body out to make sure that no one could find it.
Yeah, they're not there anymore. The man in black came.
Yeah. So, reportedly, the wreckage from the crash site was dumped into a nearby well located under the damaged windmill, while some ended up with the alien in the grave. Adding to the mystery was the story of Mr. Brawley Oates, who purchased Judge Proctor's property around 1935. Oates cleaned out the debris from the well in order to use it as a water source, but later developed an extremely severe case of arthritis, which he claimed to be the result of contaminated water from the wreckage dumped into the well. As a result, Oates sealed up the well with a concrete slab and placed an outbuilding atop the slab. According to the writing on the slab, this was done in 1945. And then they have a hoax theory. It's primarily based in 1980 Time magazine interview with Etta, I don't know how to say her name, Peaks, an 86-year-old Aurora resident claimed that Hayden had fabricated the entire story, stating that Hayden wrote it as a joke or blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we're not going to give them attention. They always try to rain on the parade, don't they? Looks like this was the article.
Like everything else.
Yeah, just another way to discredit it, because she was probably staunch religious. Unfortunately, maybe not, but a lot of times they're afraid of this stuff, so they just try to say it was someone's imagination. But it could be that she didn't believe it over the years because they had already removed all the evidence and she didn't have any evidence of it. Let's see. MUFON uncovered 2 new eyewitnesses from the crash Mary Evans, who was 15 at the time, told how her parents went to the crash site. They forbade her from going, and the discovery of the alien body. Charles Stevens, who was the age of 10, told how he saw the airship trailing smoke as it headed north toward Aurora. He wanted to see what happened, but his father made him finish his chores. Later, he told how his father went to town the next day and saw the wreckage from the crash. MUFON then investigated the Aurora cemetery and uncovered a grave marker that appeared to show a flying saucer of some sort, as well as readings from the metal detector. MUFON asked for permission to exhume the site, but the Cemetery Association declined the permission. After MUFON investigation, the marker mysteriously disappeared from the cemetery, and 3-inch pipe was placed into the ground. MUFON's metal detector no longer picked up metal readings from the grave. Thus, it was presumed that the metal was removed from the grave. MUFON's report eventually stated the evidence was inconclusive, but did not rule out the possibility of a hoax. The episode featured an interview with Mayor Brammer, who discussed the town's tragic history. Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories like this. They have evidence, all these people witness it, and then it is they renege on it. They don't want to admit that that was the story. So, which brings us back to this again. And so, fortunately, all of these, anytime you have information, you have to hold on to it and make sure that people have a copy of this. I don't know what the big deal is with aliens. It's pretty much a no-brainer. Everyone knows that they're here, and it's like it's the pink elephant in the room. Everybody knows it, but everyone has to say, yeah, of course, it's not true. And so, I guess this book that he put together was about 2,000 pages. Each were double-sided collage, replete with the calligraphy, often in code that is still today only partially deciphered, drawings and newspaper clippings. Dellschau referred to the clippings as press blooms, as though they were preserved flowers. Each page or plate, as Dellschau called them, is dated and numbered through the countings, though the counting starts at the number 1601. The estimated 10 volumes with the first 1,600 drawings are presumed lost or destroyed. What are these scrapbooks? Are they an elaborate fantasy spun out of the overactive imagination of an aging man, an outright delusion, or the earnest recollections of lost time, commemorations of the best years of a long, hard life? This is pretty detailed for someone, who has an imagination. And I know that Leonardo da Vinci had some flying machines that he created.
Yes. Similar stuff that he was drawing.
Mm-hmm.
He drew similar stuff.
We could just, there's quite a few pictures here, so we could just browse through. It's almost like this is sort of saucer-like, and then there is these, I don't know if these spin around or how they actually turn, and they have little wheels, and it looks like they rotate here.
It looks a bit similar to these Vimanas we have from India.
Vimanas, right, yeah. Yep, and then there's more information. Here's another picture. I don't know if this is like an aerial view. I don't know if it's like a hot air balloon type. And he has a date on here of 16, no, it's not a date. I think it's 1637. But I don't know if it's a date. Here's another one, 7903. Rear or front. Arrow honeymoon, number 3. Really, really interesting. There's like, I don't know if this some kind of, this would rotate maybe and create out of some kind of energy to create the lift, maybe.
Looks a bit like magnetic fields also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's another one. You know, you see a lot of these wheels.
Wheels within wheels.
It reminds me of the Voynich manuscript in the way that it was drawn.
Yeah.
But of course, the Voynich had more like botany, plants and other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, you know, if you're an engineer, to take a look at this to try to rebuild it would be quite fascinating to see this thing operating and in flight. Here, they look like hot air balloons. But we can, like you said, we can show a Vimana. And, you know, it's a Vimanas.
Yeah, sometimes they're also
like that.
Yeah, sometimes they're also shown with propellers attached at the side. Or yeah.
Fascinating, isn't it? So,
Yeah, sure. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. You know, that's why what the part of being a historian is. These are not things that we're going to be handed to us. You know, we have to make those connections and links. I remember this was an artifact that they found, which was very old, to show that there's been flying machines around for quite some time. Here's another one. It's the same type of thing. You're seeing this movement and the anti-gravity type of movement. It's another one.
Yeah, that's what they created according to this description of Ezekiel, I guess. Or...
Yeah, and we'll look at, you know, I mean, look at the way it is, and then you have the things to the side, similar to what in the images over here. Say like even the first one that we looked at, and you have something to the side, and they had like deities in each one of them, I think, but you know, something in the center. So it's quite interesting. I mean, people either whether they're researching or we had visitors that kind of hinted of how to construct some of these types of flying machines. Look at him with the I don't know, is that an umbrella he's holding or what is that? Something. But it's really, really interesting. You can see it looks like a fan of some sort. That right there, the two things to the side, probably enhances the flight somehow. I don't know how that works. And then of course wheels probably land.
I forgot the name of this guy. Was it Edward Waters? The videos that he made from this UFO.
Edward Waters.
I don't know exactly the name.
Yeah, this.
Because what he taped looks similar to what we are looking now, and that was in the 70s. Gulf Breeze, Florida, at Walters. Yeah, the Gulf Breeze incident.
The Gulf Breeze incident.
Yeah, if you can bring this up, maybe we can find some pictures there, because what he, yeah, that's it. Because what he captured on tape, yeah, it's declared as a hoax, and but I guess it wasn't. Because what he captured on tape reminds me of what were just looking at. Yeah, from the shape, from the size.
Right, so this was in 1987. The Gulf Breeze Sentinel, which is probably their newspaper, published a number of photos supplied to them by local contractor Ed Waters that were claimed to show a UFO. Ufologists such as Bruce Maccabee believed the photographs were genuine. However, others strongly suspected them to be a hoax. In Pensacola News Journal reported Craig Myers investigated Walters' claims a few years later, criticizing the Sentinel's coverage of the story as uncritical and sensationalist. Myers was able to duplicate Waters' UFO photos almost exactly using a styrofoam model UFO found in an attic of a house where Walters had been living in the time, and the photos were published. So they're claiming that it was created by something that he had in his house. Let's see, we can go to
Always you decide.
right.
Yeah.
Here is, let me see if I can find some images. Okay. Is this it right there?
Yes, these are the ones. But there's not all. They're not all. So
yeah, that's. I don't think. I think that's someone's.
There's not only footage. There's also video. Or I don't know if they still exist or if they have deleted all this stuff. Yeah. There's also videos of it, and they're pretty amazing. And it doesn't look like they were self-made. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know if it says Florida here. I don't know if there's a video on it, if they have a video there. This is History Channel.
Okay, maybe I'm searching for a video.
Which is fine. It's the History Channel does cover things, and then they, for some reason, get permission, and they're not, they're not criticized for posting it. But anyhow, so that's the Gulf Breeze incident. So yeah, I mean we're looking at this. Interesting how all these like stripes and everything, maybe it's the way that was decorated. But this one right here looks like a couple of them together. Kind of like what they would do with like a hot air balloon, kind of gathering.
Yeah, to me this looks like a magnetic field.
Yeah.
When you throw some nails around a magnet, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking a formation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they're kind of like holding each other up in some way.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and here there's a lot of threes. Different position of three. So this is a little closer at the gears. The construction. It almost looks like a kite here. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a string. And these two gentlemen talking on the side. This is an interesting little picture here of someone looking. And I wonder if that is him. Or it's just he does another one where he has a man looking. don't know, Gianni Caproni or something like that. Here is another example from another perspective, maybe looking up at it. See what it looks like from underneath. And some more. Showing the date, the month of May. And this right here. With some symbols. Very, very interesting. So these are configured differently than the early ones. Either that or we're looking at it from another perspective. And you can jump in at any time. This returns back to, you know, it looks like they can access the space. I don't know. There's some kind of, it looks like some fencing here that kind of holds it together. Trellising. Martin Balmer stops at a field on a return trip. And here's another example of it. He just did tons of artwork. I'm glad he did.
Looks like a face a little bit, this one. Face.
Yeah, yeah, you can see that. The eyes, the nose. The neck maybe. Here it shows, I like the way he kind of shows the movement. You know, you see the arrows. The way an engineer would put it together. Somebody crashes, and he's got the skull and crossbones here. Airplane crashes with assistant to Secretary of War. 1919. He has shows where people are seated.
When you look at the center of Mannheim, what I just described, it also looks like a skull.
Oh, okay.
From aerial view, I'm just searching for the picture.
Let's see if I can get that. I have it in here somewhere. Anyhow, no, that, I mean, that looks like a Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Crazy. Undertaken. He's got some kind of X's and interesting. And the planes. So he was around the Wright brothers, it sounded like, or before the Wright brothers. And here's some more. So, this one actually looks like a vehicle. I mean, it looks like you can drive in this. Does that say Trump?
You can't talk about Trump, this is YouTube.
I didn't even notice that before. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Be careful.
I know. Wow. That is amazing. Boy, he left a mark everywhere. If there isn't evidence enough that he's been traveling. Very interesting. Joe Cheney's. Oh, look at that. That's another one.
Yeah.
Maybe another name for Dick. Dick Cheney. We know he was part of the space program. There's a Peter here too.
Yeah.
Menace or something.
Okay, I can't read this.
Yeah,
small.
it's hard to read, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back and say it again. Yes, it's right there. Okay. So that was 1919. He wasn't born technically at that time. But this guy looks like a little pirate. He looks very much like a pirate there. This is a generator. A menace. I can't quite lift power generator. It looks like a flower in the center. This one looks more bare bones. This is not as much. But maybe they were looking for the literal structure, and then they had covering for it. And that's the end of that display. So this is kind of an overview of everything right here. So I don't think we covered like this one right here. I don't think we covered this one. Look at that.
Oh.
It shows Texas on the left, and this is in December. Texas doesn't really have very harsh weather in the winter.
Nope.
Oh, there he is. There's the artist.
Yeah.
Charles August Albert Dellschau. And I can't read what's being said there, but there's that Fred Washington that they mentioned. And that's what the notebook looked like. That's amazing, huh?
Oh.
It's amazing that it didn't get ruined. Spark of life. All this air travel, and look at, I mean, much different than the early planes, but well, you can see the plane right here. Yeah, there's a lot to see. Hey kids, get your dad to buy you an Air Ford. And then there's something here about the British Navy. Things were happening around the world. And there's some more of this. But amazing display. I don't know how many there are. And what are these bunch of pictures too? Maybe these are some of the guys that were involved.
Yeah.
8 members of the new British War Cabinet. That's interesting. Maybe he made some underground publications.
Could
and was
be,
letting people know. That's why, or they kind of scrubbed it. It was in our history. It was scrubbed. And there's in the wake of the dogs. Look at that, underwater. That's interesting, huh? Because they were making strides in a lot of different things, or had knowledge. Sea Serpent of the Naval Warfare Dreaded Submarine, and it pretty much has a blueprint here of where everything was within the submarine was large. And above, it just looked like kind of a simple ship, simple boat. Interesting. Well, that. I mean, you could just sit here and look all day, you know, at all this. I mean, this looks like a rocket for sure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something out of even the Beatles have pictures like this. And what does it say? Navy balloon ends day and night trip. U.S. planes may start over Atlantic today. Yeah. Good stuff. So many. I mean, you're talking about thousands of them, so I probably should move on because we'll be here all day. And there's more information about him. Now, this is something that you sent me. It's a different topic now. It's a pyramid complex in Domsk, proposed by Valery Uvarov.
Oh, by my friend Valery Uvarov.
Mm-hmm. And I was looking at that. It's because you mentioned the pyramids earlier. This is the world's first pyramid complex.
Yeah.
May 2011, Russia begins construction of the world's first pyramid complex, which encompasses and synthesizes within itself concept Project 12 and Project New Atlantis. In the beginning of this, without exaggeration, epic-making undertaking was preceded by 4 years of construction of a fully fledged, large-scale experimental pyramid. And so, let's see, in fact, we had to discover a new path for which the ancient builders left no travel directions. And there he is, Valery Uvarov. So this is a model of the pyramid complex and what they're developing now. Explain to me a little bit of what the purpose of this is.
This is part of the University of Tomsk. Yeah. In Tomsk is one of the largest universities in Russia. Yeah. And they also placed, at least in the largest pyramid, they placed a large crystal in the basement. Yeah. Just like the Egyptians and all the other guys did in ancient times. And in the largest pyramid, there are also rooms for students of the university, yeah, because they believe within these rooms there's some kind of energy or frequency that you can learn better and quicker there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I brought this up is there was a UFO sighting over these pyramids, yeah, that my friend Valery was reporting about in one of his lectures, and he said this UFO came flying, hovered over one of these pyramids for a while, then slowly hovered to the next pyramid for a while, and then flew to the next pyramid and hovered there for a while, and so on and so forth, until they finished all the pyramids, and then it flew away. And he said to him it seemed like they were measuring the coordinates of these pyramids. Yeah.
To see if they were accurate or if they were doing.
I don't know what the reason is. That just to him it seemed like they were just making a recording of the location of these pyramids, where they were exactly placed, or probably they were also able to scan these pyramids, what's inside, yeah, with their technology. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So that here they sit in the Library of Alexandria with its priceless manuscripts, including texts of the ancient canon, we are interested in, containing information about how to build pyramids, was burned to the ground by Christian fanatics as if for the reason to complicate our, by itself, not simple task. So, and that's what's happened over the years is people, I think there's a lot of different views and perspectives, and even, different writings of all different backgrounds have been destroyed for the very reason. They just want to wipe out free thinking. And we have some of that going on here now because we put things under a category, but it's part of history.
Yeah. Yesterday I saw a funny documentary where a guy said the worst subject you can step into is history because you can't barely find anything that's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that you can trust.
Yep. I was going to just, I don't know if I am allowed to play this, but we'll have this available for people to review some of these different things. So the locations and showing the phases of the construction, so you can see it's quite interesting, and they're all white.
Yeah.
And there we go. So that's quite interesting that they're experimenting and looking into this.
Yeah, he not only constructed these pyramids, they also recreated. These things are called wands. W-A-N-D-S. Yeah. If you remember the Egyptian statues, where the pharaohs were holding some kind of small cylinders in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have some kind of, when you use copper and other metals, you can create some kind of piezoelectric effects with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has an effect on your body when you are holding these two ones in your hand, like all these statues were depicted in Egypt. And probably you can search for wands, W-A-N-D-S, or wands of Egypt, or pharaohs with wands. And he's also selling these. Yeah. Or look for wands of Horus from Valery Oborov. Here we go, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
These cylinders right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yep. And he's holding one right there.
They were in the statues for sure. They were only made of stone. Yeah.
Right.
But Valery said they tried to, or they figured out the materials that they were really made of back then in ancient times. Yeah, as you can see, they are made of copper. They were made of copper and other. They studied old writings and stuff. Yeah, and so they recreated these ones, and they are all having some kind of a piezoelectric effect. Yeah. And when you're holding them in your hands for a while and probably meditating, you can.
Here's some right here. It looks like they're made some kind of cylinder and then metal on the inside, maybe.
They have different forms, different kind of metals. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next is you sent me this.
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
Yeah. He's called Scott C1. That's his profile on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And his YouTube channel is called Planet X News.
Okay.
and he's using the images from NASA. Yeah. And for about three or 4 years now, every maybe 28 days or so, or every 14 days, some objects are causing probably an coronal mass ejection from the sun, CME. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when the CME, when this thing is erupting, you can see these objects in this eruption.
And so you hear those balls again.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We believe that these objects are causing these eruptions, yeah, from with gravitational effects when they are circling around the sun, because they are just like Earth is or the other planets are in an elliptical orbit around the sun. Yeah, the orbits of the planets and our orbit is not a perfectly round orbit.
Right. Yeah.
Elliptical, and when they reach their closest point in the elliptical orbit around the sun, they are causing an CME, coronal mass ejection towards them because of gravitational effects. Yeah, and in 14 days there will be on the other side these objects, and then again, because they have an orbit of approximately 28 days, yeah, just like the moon has around our Earth. And so you can see them 14 days on the left side and 14 days later on the other side, because the whole circle is 28 days. And this is the last image that he showed, but he's got them now. I don't know how many images from all sides, from the right side, from the left side. And you just can go to his channel or the audience to Planet X News, and every month or every couple of days when we've got these new images from NASA, because sometimes they're holding some of them back when there's too much to see. As we all know, they are manufacturing lots of their stuff because before they bring this to the public. Yeah, mm-hmm. They have a look at it and cover some stuff up maybe before they release it. So this is a very interesting subject, because these objects that we see here, they are several times the size of Earth. Yeah, the large black spot is to cover the sun on the left side. Yeah. Yeah. And look at how large they are. They've got the size of maybe Saturn or Jupiter. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. It is very large if it's that close to the sun. And you can't find anything about it other than on his channel, or there's another channel. Then there's later in here he talks about dental fillings, which I thought was interesting. He jumps into this topic. Okay. But with all of someone was talking to me about the chemtrails, and a lot of them are heavy, very heavy metals, and recommending that people do removal of heavy metals. I thought that was another interesting piece of it. But this goes along with our earlier topic. Yeah, they're spraying lots of chemtrails in the air also here on Earth to cover stuff up that we can't see what's out there sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just following through here and I don't know if I think that was it of the topics that we had, other than I had one little thing I wanted to share before we go for today, because, I definitely would like you to come back. And I just this is your music. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. And I thought, it's pretty interesting. I've got more than 1,100 own songs. Yeah. Yeah. That's your name.
and so you're on SoundCloud, and which maybe a little sample of you have what's called experimental music. There's overlays of sounds, and I talked to you about this, having a music background or background in experimental avant-garde work with film and audio, and I did quite a bit of that in school. When I was in college, I was studying, so I'm trying to find one that I'm trying to remember which one it was that I thought was interesting. Oh, this one right here, Voices from Space. I don't know if, the Singing Gray. I thought that was awesome. I think it starts in. So we're going to have that in the background and say thank you for joining us today, Marcel. It was a pleasure, and I'd like to do this again.
No problem for me. Thanks for inviting me to the show.
Pardon me?
Thanks for inviting me to the show.
You're welcome, and I'd like to do it again. Very interesting. I had fun, and we had, what they call a little Easter egg, a little surprise in some of the stuff they were looking for, so looking through. So it made it very, very fun, and kind of went off on a few other little side journeys to come back. But there's so much to talk about in these subjects, and a lot of incidences that have happened that not many people cover anymore. So, or they don't know about yet. So there you go. With that said, I want to say thank you to our audience. Thank you for listening, and we'll continue to bring you information. And until next time, have a good day.
Namaste.
You have been listening to Andromeda Talks Radio. Join us on YouTube channel Jessica Errol Morocco, and visit her website at www.readingsbyariel.com.